Hi everyone, I'm excited to have Ellie and Alysia from Espresso Systems. In this episode, you will learn about women's careers in blockchain engineering, the challenges and future of Ethereum, and what Espresso can do to make it united. So, Alysia, Ellie, I'm happy to have you today. Please share your backgrounds.
Yeah, it's really great to be here. Thanks for having us. So my background is I am the head of R&D at Espresso, which means that I focus a lot on our interop right now. My background is actually as an engineer, and then I kind of got into research with time.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Alysia. Super happy to be here. I looked at some of your videos, Daria, and they're really inspiring. So thank you so much for having this channel. And myself, I work at Espresso as a software engineer. I work particularly on the smart contracts, but also working on projects like Presto, which is dealing with composability across chains. Also working on a podcast with Ellie, which has been super fun. And besides that, I like creating content on Web3 as well. I've not been as active as I want to be, but yeah, that's me.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, what is Espresso? Can you share a bit more about Espresso Systems at the company?
Yeah, so Espresso's goal is to make Ethereum composable. It's to make Ethereum feel like one chain rather than all of these chains with all of these different L2s where it's really fragmented. So that's Espresso's goal. And there's a lot of aspects to making that happen, but one of them is being able to pass data between all of these L2s really quickly, but also very securely. And so that's what Espresso does. We have a confirmation layer, and it's kind of the foundation for this very fast but secure message passing.
Thank you, Ellie. You're head of R&D at Espresso, so please share what do you do at your R&D center inside of Espresso.
I do a lot of focus on interoperability right now. That's pretty much my sole focus. I participate in the overall ETH community when we're talking about interoperability and we're talking about potential standards that we should adopt or, plans for a lot of chains to become interoperable, because the difficult part with interoperability is that you need everybody to coordinate. It doesn't work to just have a technical solution. So I spend a lot of time on that. And then, I spend a lot of time thinking about how we can improve interop, like how we can improve the Espresso protocol itself. Presto, as Alysia talked about, how we can improve just the overall interop in Ethereum, even things that don't have to do with Espresso. And so I think about a lot of those things. I write designs and, we do MVPs of some of them. So for example, Presto is kind of something I started with, but then now Alysia is taking it over and actually implementing it and making it real.
Yeah, it sounds exciting. I'm not sure that all the companies in the ecosystem have their R&D centers. I know that Espresso works with different Ethereum-based rollups, and you ladies know the possibilities and limitations of them. Can you share these challenges, possibilities of Ethereum and the future of Ethereum?
Yeah, so for sure. I think, as you mentioned, we work with many different rollups and we tend to be, VM agnostic. When I say VM, I mean, there's a Solana virtual machine, there's the Ethereum virtual machine, and within the Ethereum ecosystem, you have a bunch of other ecosystems because you have all these rollups. So you have Arbitrum, you have Optimism. So when we think about interoperability across chains, we're not just thinking about, Ethereum between Solana, we're also thinking about Arbitrum between Optimism, for example. They all form various clusters and they all have different approaches to the way that they have implemented their system. So integrating with various chains, depending on their ecosystem, can make things a bit more difficult. But at the same time, Espresso has designed itself to be in such a way that it is agnostic to any of these systems. We just need to integrate with you. And of course, there'll be various kinks depending on your stack. But I think even seeing that, even seeing that there are engineering aspects that make it difficult to coordinate, you can understand why interoperability is such a big problem and why it's been hard to solve. Once you take your funds off of Ethereum, for example, and you decide to put it in Polygon, you're probably going to spend most of your time on Polygon because the lift to go from Polygon to then another chain is using a bridge. And you have to think about, is this bridge safe? Are my funds safe? How long is it going to take? Am I going to leave dust on Polygon? So there's so many issues that come with interoperability, which means it is a big problem. It is worth solving. And the person who is able to figure it out would be doing a great justice for the ecosystem, not just Ethereum, but also across chains, because people just want to try different applications. One day you feel like you want to trade some memes, so you go on Solana. One day you feel like you want to do real DeFi stuff and you want to use Aave, for example, on Polygon. So it really depends on the flavor of the person, the day, the mood. And I think it's really important that we solve these problems with any protocol, whether it's Espresso or whomever.
Yeah, I would echo everything that Alysia said. I think that if we can solve interop or, and make it a lot better than it is today, we can have a future that's very app focused. So my vision for what I want Ethereum and its ecosystem to be is that users really only interact with apps, and they actually don't have to know what chain they're on. If that app is like moving across 3 different chains at a time, it should just, to a user, it should all be abstracted away. And the only thing that they can care about, or that they will care about, is interacting with the app. But we need better interop to do that, because today users definitely have to know which chain they're on and bridge their assets and all of that stuff.
I agree with you. People don't need to think about these chains, and they just want to use applications. What tech concepts in Web3 and beyond excite you most of all? What inspires you?
Yeah. Okay, I want to highlight 2. So the first tech concept that really excites me about Web3 is the fact that it's an open platform with open data that anyone can use and build on. And that is like rare, surprisingly. Even though we have all these applications like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, in order to access the data, you have to maybe pay something, or maybe you may not access users' data, which is fair because, you have a lot of personal identifying details on some of those platforms. But with blockchain data, it was created in such a way where for the very least, it isn't anonymous on that level. And I think that's a really exciting space to build in, because if you have an idea, like there's literally nothing stopping you besides maybe paying the gas fees to deploy the application that you then decide to build. But you can scrape this data quite easily using, a bunch of services like Infura, for example. So that's one thing that I think is really exciting for just any developer anywhere just wanting to learn how to code. And the second thing, more application specific, for me, I'm a DeFi girly through and through. I personally think DeFi is like the PMF for blockchain technology, even though we haven't really have mass adoption just yet. But I love the fact that we've created a lot of new financial paradigms. Maybe we haven't created a lot of new ones, but for example, flash loans, that doesn't exist in the real world. Like there's no way you can just borrow within one transaction, create value, and then pay it back. Like that's bonkers, but it happens in Web3. Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, time will tell. But I do love the fact that we've done that. I do love the idea of fractional ownership of NFTs. It does happen in the real world, but I love, bringing that on chain. So anything that has to do with the financialization of valuable assets is interesting to me. I say valuable assets because obviously not everything is valuable, but, I just love just thinking about DeFi primitives. So I would say that's my favorite application and developer activity on chain.
Yeah, it sounds great. So what about you, Ellie?
I would say that I actually do echo Alysia's point about the decentralized data. So not really related to Espresso, but personally something I'm really into is like decentralized social media. So things like Farcaster. I think that these things can be really cool because you can have a verifiable algorithm showing you data that is designed in a certain way and that is being run in a certain way. It can give users freedom to choose different algorithms that they want. I think that this would in general be like a really good thing for social media going forward. And there's just a lot of really cool things you can do. If all of your apps are deployed on across all of these chains and you have interop across all of these chains, the user experience can be super seamless. I mean, I myself, like it's really fun to just be like, oh, I'm going to buy an NFT inside my Farcaster feed and I don't even have to leave that feed. Like that's really, really great. But then on the maybe more technical side, I'm pretty interested in real-time proofs and TEEs. So once we can kind of have real-time proofs and with, a lot more research into TEEs, I think that we can really open up interop that is going to be amazing. So there's a lot we can do without these things. We definitely don't need them. But once we do have them, I think that it'll just simplify a lot of this. So I'm very interested to see how they evolve in the future.
Yeah, thank you very much. Previously, I had a conversation with Marek from WeLayer, and he also mentioned TEs, and they were not a sexy topic before, and now they became actually a very hot topic in the blockchain community. Now we see how trends and needs are changing and attract more and more people following I want to ask you about your experiences of being women in blockchain engineering. Did you face any prejudice or doubtful attitudes?
I would say for the most part, it's been very positive. Especially at Espresso, it's been very positive. I have had a few experiences where I think that it was very clear people thought I was only there because I was a woman and I was like a diversity hire, and therefore they assumed I didn't know what I was doing. And, that kind of makes it difficult to be successful in a place like that. So I have definitely experienced that and experienced the classic, like, they're a woman, of course, they don't actually use the chain, they don't actually understand how the technology works. But overall, my experience has been very positive, especially in the Ethereum specific community. It's been very positive.
Yeah, I would say the same. In blockchain in particular, I don't think I've really received too much prejudice in any sort of way. I think that if somebody has a reason to judge you, they would judge you regardless of what the scenario is. That's just their disposition. And if that's how they're made up, then fine. So of course, like, you might experience something and you're like, that was a bit weird that they just said that. What do they mean? Like, why would you say that? Like, why are you so confident to even assume that I don't know what I'm talking about? Like, come on. So like, there are always like little things like that, but I can imagine that happens in any field. Like, if you work in fashion as well, I'm sure somebody will look at you up and down and be like, oh, what are you wearing? So I think like this happens for sure. But funny enough, I think in just general computer science, when I was taking a degree doing like my undergrad degree in computer science, that's when I felt like received the most prejudice, surprisingly. And maybe we were all insecure, like everyone, because you're like, what the hell, this is so hard. But some of the guys would look at me and my female friend like, oh, you guys don't really know what you're doing. You're just cramming for the exams, but you don't have the actual skill. And it was like kind of mean. And it did discourage us because I was worried. I was like, geez, like, he is right, maybe. Like, I just can pass exams. And what if when I go into the workplace, I can't code? But it's a skill, like, you learn it. Like, we barely even learned to code during that degree, first of all. So that's my first problem. So like, I think that you have to just realize that everyone has their own insecurities, and sometimes they might put that on you, but that is not the definition of what you are and what you should be. And practice makes perfect. Just keep learning and iterating. So overall, it's been good. I think people are super welcoming in the blockchain space too. We're all super passionate about this topic, and we can't really talk about it with other people in our lives. So I think when you meet somebody who talks and things like you, like, oh my gosh, you get it.
Maybe you can share more pieces of advice to women entering this space.
Yeah, so I think if I had a piece of advice that I wish I had known is that the barrier to entry is a lot lower than it seems, particularly in research. Like, there is this kind of conception that, oh, you need to understand every single ETH research post out there, and you need to have the most in-depth knowledge about how all of these protocols work. You actually don't. You can actually just kind of show up and ask stupid questions, and people will generally be really positive and answer them for you. So yeah, I would just want people to know that, like, sometimes it seems like there's a high barrier of entry and you have to understand all of these things to get into research, but you really don't. And like, a lot of the researchers themselves, like, they know certain aspects very, very deeply, but like, they don't understand every single part of crypto very deeply because it's just impossible. So that's what I wish someone had given me that advice earlier on.
Totally
Thank you
agree
very
with
much.
that. Totally agree with that. I think when you realize how much we all are helping each other learn and understand what's going on, you realize that it's okay to ask questions. So maybe the highest barrier is your own ability to lower your pride and just be like, I actually have no idea what you guys are talking about. So that's one. I think a second piece of advice I would say is show up in person to these events. Go to a meetup in your neighborhood, in your community, go to one of the big conferences as well, because so many people get jobs from going to these conferences and just speaking with people, and they have a need. Because I think the best way to learn Web3 is actually in the job. Also participating and using the apps as well, that helps you too. But definitely, like, in the workplace, I feel like you learn so much more than just scrolling through Twitter or whatever platform you use to get Web3 news.
Yeah, that's true. Events are super helpful and inspiring, and like, they can connect you to different people from all over the world. My next question will be about ETHGlobal, and this question goes to Alysia. Please share your experience participating in ETHGlobal hackathon and how to become a finalist and how to become successful when you're hacking.
Yeah, sure. So for those of you that don't know, ETHGlobal, they host hackathons at different cities all over the world. You go to their website and you just sign up and you attend. And the format is such that you have a bunch of various protocols who would like you to use their protocol and build a very innovative idea. And it's a good thing for the companies because they get people creating ideas and working on stuff that they probably don't have time to do. So it's a good investment for them. And then you can win prizes. And normally it's like cash prizes. And then there's like the idea of being a finalist. And I think depending on the size of the hackathon, it might be 12 finalists, 10 finalists, for example. So my advice is, one, you need to create an idea that seems like it could be a business. Like it could be a real business and you are solving a real problem. I think those do really well because when people go to hackathons, normally the idea just dies at the hackathon. And if you could make it live after, I think that's really interesting. When my friends and I, we were able to become an ETHGlobal finalist, there were VCs coming up to us saying they would like to invest. There were people who were heads of protocols coming to us saying like, they want to encourage us to build it. So I think that's one thing. I think to get even more bang for your buck, create something that could be a real project. So that's one. The second thing is like go up to the actual protocols, like because they all have booths, and ask them, hey, like what do you want to see built? Like what would be the most interesting thing? What is something that people have tried but they haven't done it well and you think could be improved in such a way? So I think that works really well too. And the third thing that was really surprising is having a really good UI. Or even if it's just like a Figma showing how things worked, you would think because it's a hackathon and you're super techie, everyone is super techie, you'd think it's all about the code. But I realized, because we had one person on our team, she's a front-end engineer. So she created this Figma situation. I didn't even know how to do it, right? So she did it. And when we were going up to the booths, thank you, the prototype. When we would go up to the booths, like their eyes would just be like opening wide. And I could tell it was a different experience compared to the people that they were speaking with before, because you have to go up to each one of the protocols and present your idea as part of your, your judging, right? And they were like super receptive to the fact that we did have this prototype. And yes, we had some features built out, but not nearly where we wanted it to be. But I think having that prototype really helped with the storytelling. And it just reminded me like, these are humans, they have particular senses that they need to have, aroused. So, they were able to see the idea. So it made sense to them and that helped. So I would say, yeah, those are the three things. Think about something that's realistic, practical, can be a business. Mention how you'd earn revenue as well. Make sure that you understand what these people want to be built because they probably would incentivize you there. And also just think about having a decent prototype so you can tell the story better.
Thank you very much. What was the idea?
Yeah, sure. So it was called Superseed. And the idea is we wanted to encourage people to invest in such a way that is not the idea of just trading, but for more the concept of like, I would like to do something like dollar cost averaging and I would like to generate yield. So let's say you had a Bitcoin and you wanted to spend $100 worth of Bitcoin every week, just dollar cost averaging every week. You're just going to put $100 into Bitcoin, and the protocol will then take the money that is waiting to be deposited into Bitcoin. So you have $400. It would put it into the tool like Aave, generate yield for you. So you're generating yield on the money that's just waiting to be invested. And then when the money is invested, we also put it in Aave. So it was almost like we're trying to supersize the investment by generating yield. And there was a gamification part of it where every time you invested, you were growing this seed into a tree, which is why it was called Super Seed. So like you grow the seed into a tree and like that would encourage you to keep investing. And we would take some of the yield to then actually grow real trees because we wanted it to be like sustainable investing. So that was the idea. We didn't continue with it. We tried. We met up for months after trying to build it, but people just had way different priorities. And yeah, it was hard to coordinate, but it was definitely fun.
Yeah, it's unique experience anyway. And I'm sure you met many great people, from the community. Do you have any grants for builders at Espresso?
Yes, so we don't have anything yet, but I will say that we will be announcing something soon. So I can't say much, but soon there will be an announcement.
I think the way that we've supported various hackathons is just like, hey, we want to see people build interoperable products, so we will support you.
What advice would you give to people who want to start an engineering career in blockchain?
This might be a bit of a controversial opinion, but I do think it's a good idea to learn Rust. A lot of projects are written in Rust. Not all of them. A lot of them are written in Go as well. But I think knowing either Rust or Go is like a really, really beneficial.
I think that it depends on your background. If you have no coding experience, then definitely finding a book like Mastering Ethereum, I think that is ace for understanding just how blockchain works. And in terms of courses, there are so many courses that I can't even think of one that is the best one to recommend. Like I used to use Darkade. I thought that was nice because how Darkade works is that it teaches you how to build like a full stack app on a platform. And they also have people in the community who would then review your code and tell you what you did right or wrong. And the reason why I like that is because you don't just like build the thing, but you actually get someone giving feedback on like, oh, you could have done this better by doing this, which is more realistic to what would happen in the working world as well. So I think that's a good platform. But there's so many others that I wouldn't even say that's the best one. If you already have coding experience, build something, build an app, build a project, because project-based learning to me keeps you more motivated. Like I actually cannot stand going to like, let's say Ruslang, whatever their book is, and just like reading the code. Like, I don't know, I might lose patience in like 5 minutes. So I need to actually build
Yeah.
something and then see how to like, get around it. That can be frustrating too, because then you hit into many walls because you don't understand the language. So pros and cons, but for me, it needs to be a project and you just literally like try to find the resources, jump into Discord of the protocols you're trying to build for, because you will get so much help, so many questions answered, and their docs are never good enough, not because they don't care, but because it just takes a lot of time to create good docs. Their protocol is evolving quickly. And some projects, like some platforms even have like learning programs that rare. I don't know how you find them, but I was like subscribed to Mina protocol. They're like, I don't know what I was subscribed to, but I was subscribed and they were like, hey, do you want to learn how to build a ZK app? We're hosting a 6-week or 8-week series. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And that really helps me learn how to build a ZK app in a way that I never would have before because I had the guidance with people there meeting up. So I think try to look for those opportunities as well.
Thank you very much for your time and for your expertise. It was super helpful, I'm sure, for everyone, and interesting for me personally to learn more about Espresso, how you work, ladies, in this field. It was super nice. I'm sure that Espresso will unite more and more projects and builders around. Guys, I'll leave all the links under this video so you can follow Ellie, you can follow Alysia and ask them questions, and follow Espresso as well. So see you in the next videos.
Bye.